When you're playing Valorant with your friends, I'm sure you have some that are better at Valorant than others, right? Or you might have that one friend who's just instantly amazing at every game they play. But why though? How come there's such a vast skill difference between you and some of the others around you? What makes some players rank up faster than others? It's simple. There's actually multiple levels to this. But if you want the absolute fastest way to rank up, it's that you need someone who's better than you pointing out your mistakes. I mean it, think about it. If you're hard stuck at some rank, absolutely ramming your head into a wall and you have no idea what you're doing wrong, it's hard to figure it out. But if you had someone to be there every time to tell you, hey man, you're running into a wall, do this to get around it, then you'd rank up way faster. And these coaches have been through all the same problems that you're going through. It's kind of like growing up and going through different grades. In 3rd grade, multiplication might have been pretty hard for you. But if you had a tutor there to guide you through as many problems as possible, you'd fly through your math class. Studies show that homeschool students perform much better than their counterparts in formal institutional schooling. In these standard achievement tests, the homeschooled students average between 15% and 30% more points than students attending public schools. This is because they have someone at home 24/7 that can help them out when they're struggling. Now, if you had a Radiant coach who would VOD review with you every time you asked, you'd rank up insanely fast. You just had an embarrassing loss. You went 2-21 and your team flamed you. Take that game to your Radiant Pocket coach, and you'd eliminate that issue immediately, so it would never happen again. A normal player on their own might start blaming teammates, their equipment, or some other nonsensical third party, when in reality, you're just playing the game wrong. This is why coaches are so important in a game like Valorant. Now, just because you subscribe to our website and you set up some VOD reviews with our Radiant coaches, it doesn't mean that you're gonna just fly through the ranks. The reason why people find so much success with coaches is because they're actively listening and applying what they're learning. It's just like you're struggling in math and your tutor just gave you all the answers and didn't actually show you how to solve the problems. It doesn't help you. And when it comes time for the big test, you're gonna fail because all you did was look at some answers from your homework. Improving does not work that way. You have to take what you're being taught and actively apply it to your own games. In this coaching session I did for a website subscriber, they struggled with coming up with a plan, knowing what to do. Here, take a listen.
So like you have the information that there's a bunch here, right? And you played this the last round. You were playing for information on A, but you don't really know what to do. In this situation, since you don't have a molly or anything to like help you survive, what you need to do is fall back to either backside, but this is a bit risky, and try and get one, or fall out to like dugout or art and try and hold some form of map control for your team so that when it does come time for the retake, you haven't lost all map control, right? So right here, a better decision, like I said, would be go into dugout and hold this map control, go into art and try and hold this, right? Maybe flush out, like pinch mid with your KO, make sure this is all clear, and then your teammates who are rotating can come out and take care of any enemies that pass these points, right? And then you guys can pinch on the retake. But it looks like right here you don't really have a plan, and you kind of just run away and
They're A.
see how like your gun's out right now. You aren't really ready to fight anybody, right? Because your crosshair drops to the floor. You're kind of confused right now. You're getting overwhelmed, and you don't know what to do. So just in the future, try and come up with a plan, like an idea of what you're going to do if something happens, right? So like if they're here, I'm going to run to dugout. If they're not here, I'm going to take my time and clear mid, right? So having small, simple plans like that will help you and avoid you getting killed, stop you from getting killed like that.
Now, later in the session, I talked about how in the buy phases, they need to be actively thinking about if-then statements. If the enemy pushes A, then I'll get close to the tree smoke, pop a flash, and fight. Or if the enemy is an A, then I'll flank. Or if the enemy's running it down on me, then I'll run back to dugout and play retake. All three of these options are phenomenal, but you just need to pick one. If this guy goes into the next game and doesn't do this, she's gonna get steamrolled like you just saw in this clip. And this is what professional players do in the pre-round. They make plans with their teammates all the time. Hey, if they push A, go anchor site and I'll flash through the smoke when they're looking at you. Or, hey, go into wine and I'll fight A main. This type of communication is what Radiant level players do, and you need to practice it in your games. Even if your teammates don't listen, you can still make plans for yourself for each round. If you actually want to improve, you're gonna have to put in the work, coach or not. Let's say you can't find or you don't want to coach. That's okay too, but you need to understand you need to play with purpose. This is another reason why some people rank up quicker than others. You could have 5,000 hours played of Valorant, but if you spent 4,000 of those hours just trolling ranked games and goofing off, then you pretty much just wasted your time. And look, don't get me wrong, it's okay to play the game for fun and goof around with your buddies, but if they're getting better than you and ranking up past you, That's probably why. They're probably going into each game with a goal in mind as to what they want to work on. That's how players improve fast. So back in the intro, I talked about how some players are just better than everyone at video games. Like, it just comes natural to these people. But how? Well, just like the first answer, this one's also pretty straightforward. Players like these have just been playing video games longer than you have. Little known fact about Teets, he played piano for about 10 years of his life, and he was actually pretty good. However, he stopped because he didn't really enjoy it anymore. But he said he'd bet absolutely anything that he could probably pick up another instrument and figure out what he's doing within about a week. What people don't consider is that he's been playing piano for 10 years, and that's a really long time. And if you've ever played a musical instrument before, you know there's a lot of similarities between each instrument. Are you kinda starting to get it? Why do you think a lot of the pros in Valorant used to be pros in CSGO, Overwatch, or other first-person shooters? They have a ton of competitive shooter experience, so naturally they're gonna pick up Valorant quicker. Don't you think that thousands of hours of video games would eventually make you pretty good at them? I hate to break it to you, but no one's born with the ability to jet updraft with their Bladestorm and get 4. People get better at things by practicing them and putting in the time to actually improve. Now, sure, people can be born with things that naturally make them better at certain things. Like Kevin Durant is arguably one of the best basket players of all time. He's 6 foot 10 inches and has a 7 foot 5 wingspan. This probably helps him better at basketball, right? But he even said it himself. Hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. So we just talked about the 3 reasons why people rank up faster than others. Coaches help a ton, good players implement what they learn, and some people just have more time. But there are some tips that can help you adopt this mindset. One being, you need to drop your ego. If you're Immortal 2 or below, you probably don't know everything. Even Immortal 3 and Radiant players struggle with some concepts sometimes. But when a high-ranked player tells you something, you should at the very least consider it. Here's an example. This should be a layup, but here's a clip from Casey's ranked game. The enemy raised through, but how?
Yeah, she keeps pushing.
You know what? I was going to explain it to you, but I think Casey does a good job and I'll chat. Have a read. Crazy. Raze doesn't even know he's giving her free coaching. We usually charge for that stuff, you know? Yeah, Casey hit the nail on the head. When you're on a lurk like this or you get a huge kill like that, it's really important for you to stay alive. The amount of pressure that you're creating just by existing is huge. Yeah, you literally could just sit in a cubby and do nothing. The enemy's gonna be worried about a potential flank later in the round, but because she peeked out, she let Casey even out the player advantage and eventually win the round. And the sad part is that Raze didn't learn anything from that death. She went on about her day and never got better. That round was technically just a waste of her time. Now, compare that example to a situation I was in with Casey when we were playing ranked. We were playing on Icebox, I was in a one-on-one, the spike was planted on B site, and I was an attacker. I was on top of green, waiting for the enemy to tap the spike. They tapped, and I jump spotted on top of green. Big mistake. By doing this, I exposed myself so much more to sight, and I actually got tagged a few times. The guy ended up swinging on me, and I won the clutch. But after the round, Casey said, "Hey bozo, don't do that next time. If you want to jump spot, do it from the far side of green, so you can't get punished as hard." And I was like, "Wow, Casey, thanks for the free coaching. Don't you normally charge for..." No, I'm just kidding. But I actually listened to him, and I remembered it for the next time I'm in that situation. Literally the next week we were on Icebox, I was in a 1v1 on B site with the spike planted, and I jump spotted from the furthest point on green, and I won the clutch. Yeah, sure, what I did the first time was a little brain dead, but instead of blowing Casey off, I took his advice to heart. Gave it some good thought, and I was like, yeah, Casey's right. I am a bozo, and I used it to improve myself as a player. So it's simple. Drop the ego. That's how players improve quickly. Find a coach, play with purpose, and drop the ego. Those are the reasons why some people rank up faster than others. And if someone's just magically, freakishly good at every game they play, it's because they play a lot of video games. But by implementing what I talked about earlier and sticking to it, I promise you're going to start seeing yourself rank up past your teammates. I absolutely promise. So if this video was helpful to you, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe down below. As creators, it helps us a ton. Now, if you want an easy place to find a Radiant coach, look no further than our Discord server. In our Ask a Pro channel, you can set up VOD reviews with our Radiant level staff, or you can just post whatever questions you want answered in there. And with a subscription to our site, you gain access to hundreds of hours of Radiant-produced educational content. This also includes access to our Ask a Pro channel and our Discord, where you can set up a VOD review with one of our coaches. There is no other service that can offer you this much value, I promise. Now just head on over to SkillCapped and get started on your way to the rank you deserve. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening, guys. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.